the members of this committee have an enormous responsibility writing policies that impact virtually every critical American industry. Each of us should be humbled by that. I know I am. And I note that while we're here today to debate this massive bill that in many ways overhauls significant parts of America's economy, few members of Congress have actually worked in the private sector that this majority now seeks to dramatically overhaul. Very few have ever signed a check on the front side or have ever had to comply with the very rules and regulations that emanate from the laws we pass. As members of Congress, we have the awesome responsibility to not screw up what hardworking Americans outside the D.C. Beltway have built. If this committee and this House get this wrong, the damage could be lasting and permanent. This is especially true for the energy provisions of this dangerous legislation. The availability of affordable and reliable energy affects global geopolitics, the pocketbooks of every working American, and the bottom lines of every business in America, both large and small. It's troubling to see efforts to tax natural gas, put reliable, affordable coal and gas-fired power out of business with a so-called performance program, and then plow tens of billions of taxpayer dollars into green pet projects. This is all designed to generate so-called clean power and a clean economy. But after handing global energy dominance to China and Russia and Iran, will America have a clean conscience when this is all over? If the EVs, solar panels, and batteries we'll discuss today have components that are made by slaves in China, or if the reports are true that lithium, copper, and rare earth minerals critical for a clean economy could start coming from Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, then you can count me out. I mean, is all of this worth effectively sanctioning our own economy and handing our energy sovereignty to China? And China is building hundreds, that's hundreds, folks, of new coal-fired power plants right now, presumably to manufacture critical components for America's so-called green economy. Now, how does that make sense? It's not to say this committee doesn't have a responsibility to look at ways to reduce emissions, and we've done that. But we also have a duty to balance national security, grid reliability, America's economy, and the jobs that are created right here in America. In Ohio, we don't want to sacrifice our energy industry and the tens of thousands of good-paying jobs that come with it. According to Ohio Jobs and Family Services, the average oil and gas worker makes $81,700 a year. If these workers are suddenly put out of a job by this legislation, I guess my Democratic friends will look to our climate envoy, John Kerry, who infamously said, and I quote, "They can go build the solar panels." Well, in Appalachia, solar farms are being built, many with foreign-made components. When completed, these sites may support one or two permanent jobs. Does anyone here think the worker whose job it is to cut the grass around the local solar farm, which is one of the only jobs it creates, is going to make as much money as a worker on an oil rig or a coal miner? Do any of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle see this, and do they even care? Mr. Chairman, let's think about this before we rush to green and turn our back on America's affordable and reliable energy resources. I look forward to opposing this desperately ill-conceived legislation. I urge my colleagues to do the same, and with that, I yield back.